fun of his buddy, you know. And that was pretty bad.
From Erie's own Government Access, Channel 9, from the City Hall Council Chambers, it's time once again for the Taxpayers Hotline Show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host.
Well, here we are. Councilman Kaz Kwiatkowski with my good friend.
And Ron Stemka.
Well, what is your title like?
I'm just a taxpayer trying to help people out.
Some people called you a, with all due respect, you know.
I go in and help people. That's what I do.
Well, that's good. You're a rabble-rouser.
Rabble-rouser for people that don't have nothing.
When they came up with the term ombudsman the other day, I was laughing. Because I use it.
No, I go out of my way to help people. And like I did that in the union. And
I have to make him an ombudsman. Go out there and listen to because you always need extra ears, you know.
I got all kinds of ears.
But it's been, well, we gave DJ, he called me, he had some things he had to do. But Skunky took the
high road if someone shot him.
Yeah, I got a lot of comments on him. But,
okay, last week we're talking about on 12th and Peach. What's going on with that situation with cleaning up that building and what the judge said?
You mean the garage there, like?
At the garage, Warren's.
I haven't had an update. I brought it up at the last council meeting.
But what everybody is falling on, no one's talking about it. And here you got the judge said the rules. You got to have this fine by this date, and now they're fining them.
Well, Mr. Villela, I think he was the one that worked on getting a solution to it finally. And the guy is under court order. I heard a wild rumor that some citizens are actually keeping it clean when he doesn't.
But it's the idea. It's just they got that junk laying around. Well, yeah. And that's a nice main downtown coming into Erie.
I think I'm going to try to find an update. I mean, I asked him last week, like I say, at the council meeting, we brought it up that sure taking a long time. That and
call Jerry up now on the phone. If he's
Jerry's not, well,
he's a solicitor.
Yeah, he's not there. I was just upstairs. But here's the one, that one and the one that brought up about the one in East Avenue there, you know, the Bayfront Highway? Well, the Bayfront Highway and 12th Street. That's a bad one. Go ahead, caller.
Afternoon, gentlemen.
How you doing?
Okay, East 38th Street between State and Pine Avenue.
Okay.
7 dead trees, completely dead.
On the boulevard?
On the boulevard.
Right.
2 of them are 75% dead, and so that's 9 altogether.
Okay. I turned the boulevard problem into the arborist. I imagine what's going to happen is she's probably out of money, and
the city can.
I called this in 2 years ago.
Yeah, I know. She's got a list. I mean, don't laugh when I tell you this. They go by the highest priority, and I think that the 75% ones are probably going to be in that category. What are those 75% ones? Do you know exactly?
Oh, no, they're just every now and then. I don't know.
I'll have her take another look. I gave her that list. Of course, that's not the only ones. I gave her a bunch of trees from other people. She's pretty well, I mean, she doesn't have an awful lot of funds to tear down trees. So they're kind of on an emergency basis, and then there's so many that are contracted regularly. When I was controller, I saw that list. And then, you know, things happen in the meantime, just like houses burn.
Well, couldn't the Parks Authority, the parks go over and cut the trees down and clean it up?
They probably could, but they'd be taken down a lot of times by a professional.
Okay, a couple of weeks ago, I paid my school taxes down at City Hall. And I pulled up in front of City Hall.
Right.
Couldn't find a parking place.
Some of our city cars were there, right?
They were. It was a fire department van, and another vehicle had municipal parking place license. So I dropped my wife off, and I had to go all the way around the park. I came back, and she was just coming out the door, so I double parked, and the guy behind me pulled up behind me, and he had to do the same thing. He was picking somebody up.
How was the back parking lot at City Hall? Was that bad too?
I didn't even notice. Well, anyway, the following coming Friday, the mayor was on the radio in the morning.
Right, with Jimmy LaCorchick?
Yep, and I called him up, and his answer was, well, they probably had business in City Hall. And I said, so did I. I couldn't find a parking place. And that was his answer. It kind of ticked me off.
Why couldn't they park in the basement and they're parking downstairs?
Well, some people, I mean,
Police vehicles, they have it down the parking downstairs. Of the
some have spaces down there,
spaces down there they can park.
but everybody at City Hall has been told that they are, including the workers, that they're not supposed to park in the, where this gentleman's talking about,
Why
because
can't they park over by the park?
they could. In fact, some of our people have spaces over there at the parking ramp, you know.
Uh-huh.
No, I agree with you. I brought it up before. In fact, when Mr. Rush was here, when I was controller, I was complaining. The treasurer, sometimes she would complain, and I would say, you know, when it comes time for taxes, I can remember when I was just a regular citizen, and I had trouble, you know, getting down here because where are you going to park your car? You know, so I had to walk down, but walking down took my whole lunch break.
Okay, my last comment is, in the paper a couple of weeks ago, letter to the editor, this woman says she buys special bags to separate her garbage.
Right.
I don't, but I don't buy the bags, but I separate my newspapers, the cans and bottles, and my regular garbage, put them out front, and they all go in the same darn truck.
Well, I actually get 2 trucks on my neighborhood. You only get 1? I've seen 2. I mean, I've seen rare occasions when I had 1 truck, but usually I'll hear the first truck will pick up the recyclables, and then I'll hear the other truck will be right behind them picking up the garbage.
Well, sometimes I get 2 trucks.
Yeah. I'm going to check into that for you because they told us in the past that when they're short of a truck, they sort it out at the transfer station.
Well, that woman says all her garbage goes in the same truck also.
Yeah, it may be, but they claim you know what, I have a friend that works at the transfer station. I'm going to ask him, and then maybe I'll take a ride some night with the garbage guys and see if that's really, or drive down to the transfer station and see how they handle it, because that's an ongoing complaint. But they claim in the past when they were questioned that if they're short, they will do that, but they will sort them out at the station when they get there. So I don't know what the answer is, but I'll check on it. And I will check on the parking I'll bring it up again. But the mayor is really in charge of that, and I think
That's his comment.
it doesn't sound good.
Oh, okay, that's all I have.
Yeah, but believe me, I don't blame you, because I think, you know, when you work in the private sector, they tell you to park. If you go if you work at the mall, they'll tell you to park way out in the perimeter. You know, the customers come first, and who's our customers? The taxpayers.
Okay, that's all I have.
But thank you for calling. I will check on these for you.
Okay, bye.
That's a big problem. Parking in front, that's one problem, but
But, you know, like he said, they can put like that van sitting right there, that could be down the basement.
well, not only that, but sometimes they're overloaded. You got too many down there, but the problem is that we do have spaces at the parking ramp, and there are, you know, places outside, and most of our people are young. You know, it's the elderly that are coming down here, or the, you know, people that are, you know, even my age. You know, we don't want to be walking.
You're old.
I'm not old, but what his last complaint? I got to mark. What was his last? See, parking, trees. What was the last thing? I'm getting Alzheimer's. No, I'm getting Alzheimer's.
Trees, parking.
Oh, the bags, the garbage.
Garbage bags.
Yeah, garbage. See, they've told me that when they do that, they do sort them down there. So I'm going to check on a guy that works with Waste Management to see if that's the case. But I get 2 trucks. How many trucks do you get a night?
1.
You only get 1?
That's all I see.
Well, you might be sleeping, though.
Probably. I get up at 5:30.
Well, I stayed up one night watching the ball game, and a couple times, and I seen, you know, 1 truck will come, you'll hear it, and then maybe less than half an hour later, sometimes even quicker, the other truck will come.
Guy must have had his brakes on in front of the garbage truck. They must have went about 200 feet, and It's tread mark. Must have had the brake on. About 130 feet, something like that.
Oop, get cut off. Yeah, the trees, see, we don't have that much money budgeted for that. That is a problem, though. Go ahead, caller.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Subject matter to bring up today. Every time the mayor's on your TV program, which I see he's on again today, our invisible mayor,
Oh, okay.
The Phantom.
he always brags he puts extra money in the budget to fix the potholes and repave the streets. But in Southeast Erie, not that any of the taxpayers ask for it, a lot of the streets are paved with cement. And if you drive over like East 32nd Street from 600 block through the 900 block and East 31st Street to 600 block, if you were a tourist in town, you would think that we just had an earthquake, that the roads are upheaving like crazy, and they haven't had any care for the last 6 to 8 years.
Well, even on, if you remember, East Avenue was bad for a while.
Still is.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit better, but you can still tell it's got that, what do you call it, that constant roller coaster action.
Right.
The only thing they did was smooth it out a little bit with the half coat. But I'm going to, I don't usually go over those other two streets you told me about. I mean, I live on that side of town, but that's 31st and 32nd, you said?
Yeah, between Ash and East Avenue, especially 32nd Street. If you go through there, if you're from out of town, in all seriousness, and you don't know them roads are upheaved like they are, them blocks, you could ruin the bottom of your car in a hurry.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. It just, the problem was, and this came out in our comprehensive study, was for many years we did nothing. And, and that's what happens when you do nothing. Now, all of a sudden,
$11 million worth.
Yeah, and that doesn't, 11 million doesn't go.
Yeah, but like Davison now, they had the equipment there, they had everything. They went from 28th to 33rd, okay.
I looked into Davison. Go ahead, sir, I can talk afterwards. Go ahead.
Just give you a little story here. 15 years ago, we warned Arthur Schultz Company. We were getting a new stove. We says, if you come over 31st Street where I live, I says, if you come off Ash Street, take it easy because there's bumps in the road because of the upheaval of the cement. And their driver just forgot about it, or they didn't get the message.
Oh, my God.
They hit one of them holes there on the 600 block, East 31st Street. They dented the stove. They got to our house. It's damaged, and they asked us real quick if we wanted that one. We said no. They had to take it back to the store, and we got another stove the next day.
Wow, it's just
a small story, but it just tells you the condition of the streets.
Well, you don't expect it, and then, you're right about the shape of them. I mean, there are some that look like time forgot, and even though they're not major arteries, they still got to be addressed at some time, Well,
exactly. I don't expect all the streets to be paved every year or anything, but you got to hit some of these streets sometime.
I came up with an idea, but I can't get any traction on it. And
I just wanted to bring up about these cement streets, but I just hope the mayor doesn't save that job for the next mayor.
No, but you know what? I think what we got to do, and this is painful, but I think we have to have a regular capital program on streets, much more aggressive. But I think even if we had to raise taxes and dedicate it to that only, like so much millage. It has to be done, otherwise, what you're going to be looking. Well, look at those streets above 38th that are tar and chip now. You've been up there, right, sir?
I get up there once in a while, yeah.
Yeah, they're not bad, but my road is starting to, break up a little bit, and in a few years, all those ones that were reclaimed up there that were dirt, they're going to be in trouble. And you got like you say, East Avenue is still not perfect. We're going to have to be much more aggressive, and it might entail. The ugly thing about actually, instead of floating bond issues, just dedicate a certain percentage of their tax to that and get it done,
How much money do we have left?
On the bonds, I'm not positive.
$11 million to fix the roads.
There's probably about half it left, I would say.
You said something about Davison, you said...
Well, wait till this gentleman's done, and then, are you okay, sir?
I just wanted to bring up about the cement paved streets here on the east side.
Yeah, there's some even on the west side, and it's kind of embarrassing that...
It's a citywide problem.
Yeah, but, we do feel on the east side like, and I do say this, we do feel like we're neglected.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a nephew lives on Green Garden between 26th and 38th Street, and every time I go visit him, I see Green Garden is as smooth as the sheets on my bed.
Yeah, even when like I say, I've lived on both sides of town, and I can tell the difference. And
Marion Street, that's a bad street. You haven't been in about 7-8 years.
Okay, it's nice talking to you, gentlemen. Have a good day.
Well, I took a ride in Marion because everybody was, I didn't think it was that bad.
Well, there's certain areas they got to fix,
Well, they fixed the worst one, which is down there by where Davison comes in, because that's your heavy traffic area where
Yeah,
people...
but Davison at 33rd Street's pretty bad.
But I didn't think it was terribly, terribly bad, okay? Compared to like what this gentleman's talking about. We get some that are really bad. But that stretch down there at Davidson, that's heavy because you got the entrance to Walmart, to the backside.
Zimmerman then coming down through.
You get Zimmerman, and you got Davidson coming down. A lot of traffic going up,
The right button.
Go ahead, caller.
How'd we do on our homework assignments?
I didn't get a lot done, but I'm going to go. DJ called me, and we are taking a ride this week. You want to come with us?
This week?
Yeah.
I'll have to call and make an appointment when.
Well, he's going to call me tonight. We're going to go over some days, and I'll give you a call if you... In fact, Stemka might even come. I don't know. I can put 4 in my vehicle comfortably.
Okay, now, the LERTA for the new car wash and the one that's rebuilding, did you find out anything?
No, I didn't. I meant to, but I had a couple other missions given to me by council, so I had to get them done. But I will check on that LERTA for that car wash, the one Baldwin has now.
That one and the one that's remodeling down the road.
Down right beside Tops.
And
what's down? Oh, you mean that? You mean that other car wash?
CYS, the old CYS club. So,
wait a minute. What do you mean they're remodeling that car wash next door? Like?
Right.
Yeah, I saw that. That's the.
I don't know if they're going to put a little store in there beside a few bays to wash.
I don't know. That's
I think they might put a laundromat in there.
That's that kid that runs. He's got that lawnmower service, I think.
Yeah, he does that. But a lot of building going up. You were talking about how they're doing the paving. I see the state came through and they're tarring in the holes again on 38th Street.
You mean tarring the cracks, like?
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll just hold it up for winter a little bit.
Foolishness. You're going to do a section and leave the rest. It doesn't make any sense.
Well,
I think it's squatting around just to make the public think they're doing something.
Well, you got that impasse in Harrisburg, so,
Well, that impasse at Harrisburg is another joke.
Well, I mean, that's what's going to happen is where Erie ranks in the Commonwealth, so, if there's going to be any roads done, it's not going to be in Erie.
Sure, it's all up in the eastern end of the state.
Yeah, we're going to get a little bit, but not, a lot of people complained this week. Mr. Mirsky brought it up because he and I hear a lot about it, but, they're right. For this year, for some strange reason, they tore up a lot of roads, and they did not, they tore them up and milled them, which is okay. But then it's been like weeks.
4 weeks later.
Yeah, well, a lot of weeks later. I mean, you got people that called me that are elderly that do not have a driveway, who have had to move their cars 2-3 days, and then all of a sudden to find out when they're talking to the guys, this is what really gets rotten, is the guys on the construction site tell them, well, we're not going to be doing it when we said we are. So why don't you take the signs down? So now these people are, for 3 days, are moving their cars around, and then only to find out they're going to change the sign again.
Well, they did the Fargo area pretty good, but they should have went all the way up to
the top
Grandview, and they should have went all the way down below.
But that wasn't on the list, was it, John?
Yeah, Fargo was.
I mean, all the way though?
No, just just spot section. It's just like when someone goes through, you get a water leak, they just repair the leak instead of doing the whole line.
Well, I said this to, Ronnie was listening. I think he shuddered a little bit, but, when 11 million doesn't go very far.
No.
And, that doesn't take long, but the only way to fix this problem is going to be painful. It's not going to be pleasant, but, quit floating bond issues and
Well,
just...
Mill brings how many millions of dollars in?
Let's see.
A half a mil brings in, what, $1.5 million?
I think it's somewhere around there. I didn't get the up-to-date one, but...
Well, let's get a mill and get $3 million and put it into the streets. A total fix, not a patch job.
Well, what I want to do, if it was my call, I would say, and you have to sell this to the public, because they're tired of hearing, But I think if you tell them, look, and we did this on the school board, we'd say, we're raising your taxes, or we're using this much millage for this, and nothing else. In other words, every year you take a guaranteed amount of money and say, this is going to be every year, we're going to fix this amount of streets, and be kind of proactive.
Well, that's what they do in Florida. They show you where every bit is going. For lights, water, fire, police, and it shows you exactly how much goes to it.
Yeah, because all we're doing now, I mean, we're doing what we can, but, all we're doing is putting Band-Aids all over town. And it came out in that report that, inactivity over all these years has hurt us. And somewhere along the line, you got to, John, it's like football. You got to, when you're up against the 1 yard line, you got to dig in and say, this is it, no more, right?
How much of that liquid fuel tax does Erie get?
I don't have my budget on me, but...
Round figure.
But all that does not go to, I know you're going to bring it up again.
Yeah, but you got to pay electricity for the lights.
Well,
and
that's
all that
their
stuff.
choice, okay? It's one way or the other. You can, if we didn't pay the electric out of that, we'd have to pay it out of the general fund, so it's what they call the old horse apiece.
Like CBG money.
But that's going down every year. I mean, that the state is cutting back on that.
Your community block grant. They don't have to give it out to these nonprofits all the time.
No, they
Put it
don't.
into the inner city.
I think the mayor, mayors in the past have allowed their departments to determine that, and councils kind of sat there. I don't know if that's going to be the case anymore when, we're going to have a change in council, and some people are going to be pushing for some their ideas, and I think...
Take some money from that Jefferson Society.
Well,
Now, who funds that?
we do, and so does, I think, the county.
Let's take some of that money, take a little bit away from that.
Well, I
The
think
Niagara Fund, there's another one.
The people want us to fund the centers.
They get gaming money.
Who?
Right.
Jefferson Society.
Yeah. How about the gambling money coming down and helping us out with our problem where, the centers have been clamoring for money and,
Well, sure. It's just like
but I think
school teachers are going to have to work without being paid if they would volunteer. Well, that's a crock because most of them are under contract and they get paid regardless.
Yeah, what they're saying, though, is in the short term...
They have money for the payroll.
Well, they do now because the treasurer sent down about, I think it was $2 million from us.
Well, yeah, you should put that money in right away. In fact, they're collecting too early against the state regulations.
Well, what do you mean, the city?
The district is collecting at the wrong time.
Who, you mean the school district?
Yes.
Yes,
Why did they say it's illegal?
because it's not in accordance with all the other districts.
They must have had that tested out, John,
They're still looking at it.
But I don't think it's a bad, when I was on the school board, the problem with our fiscal year was, our fiscal year is different in the city, okay?
Same thing when you had your money coming in down there. You had to get a trans.
Well, we don't anymore because it's much more, right now at the city, we haven't taken out a tran since I think Senate's first year,
That's
if
because
even
you
that.
got a big surplus.
Well, no, we've been living realistically, and the things have been coming in better. Now, at the school board, traditionally, when you started in September, okay, you were already like 9 months through the year, and you're really on the lean side of the cash.
I realized they switched it around so they could have their money a lot quicker.
Yeah, and therefore they themselves, I think, haven't taken out a tran, but now I think they have to they're looking at this, but the school teachers are saying, you know, for a few weeks, if you're out of cash, okay, they're going to get paid anyway, John, we know that.
They have a 52-week spread regardless.
Yeah, but what they're saying is, you know, you may not get your check this month or this week, but you're going to get it, you know, down the line when we get the cash. That's what they were asking.
All they're looking forward, or the administration is looking forward to paying their upcoming bills, and they want to leave their staff unpaid so they can keep their other bills going. And I realize you don't want to go borrow that money because you have that big interest on it.
Yeah.
And
really, you know, people ask me what I would have done, and I said, you know what? I don't blame the superintendent for threatening the state with shutting down the schools. Because I'll tell you what, once you shut them down and the people start yelling at, you know, Pat's going to hear it, Flo's going to hear it,
but, you know,
Wiley, Sean's going to hear it, you know, they're going to go back and, you know, everybody's going to start getting a little ticked off. And,
Why don't they do that now?
well, they are.
They're sticking selling lumber.
They are, but you know what the problem is? You got debt. Nothing's happened yet, okay? Nothing's happened because they're all looking for stopgap measures. When the crap hits the fan and somebody actually says, you know, we're shutting down school systems because we don't have the cash.
They shut down everything.
Yeah, then, John, what's going to happen? What do you think?
Yeah, I think they should shut everything down and get these politicians to go to work.
Right, then what do you think when the public sees, you know, the kids can't go to school, right?
They're going to do what they did last time. They're going to vote everybody the hell out of office.
Be pounding at their doors.
Sounds like a plan now.
Well, yeah, that's the only thing that's going to get these, you know, they're playing hardball with the governor, and I don't care what side of the fence you're on, you know, but you got an obligation to the kids, and you're slacking on it.
Well, the governor's got to be more realistic, too. He says, well, he'll have all new hires come in, get on a 401k if their salary is $75,000 and over. Mm-hmm. Think about it. Who is going to come in as a new teacher with a salary starting at $75,000? You find me and you let me know other than administration. And then they want to lease out the liquor stations.
Yeah.
Thought another governor wanted to do that to an English firm.
You know, it used to sound like when you're a young kid, it sounded like a good idea because you saw, wow, you know, they're bringing these stores and, you know, the liquor will be cheaper and there'll be more. You know, I'd have to say this, the state store, since they were under the gun, have improved their public relations, their knowledge of the product. Would you agree, John?
Yes.
And you know what? It's making Pennsylvania, I mean, where are you going to get that revenue? I mean, so you sell them, all right? You get...
Well, what's happening?
And even if you lease them...
Quite a change. There's in wines and good whiskeys and all that, and it's controlled by the state. But here's the thing. If they want to get rid of it, what are we going to do with the other 4,500 employees we're going to lose?
Yeah.
They don't take any of that into consideration.
And, you know, private businesses not necessarily go into... I'm not picking on any towns, but they're going to think twice about going into... like a town like Hedge Hollow or...
True.
You know, the state's going to try to mix it up, but, you know, private business is going to go where they can make the most bang.
That's true. Well, I am glad the council is going to get an attorney to pull in the reins of this dictatorship you have running down the 5th floor.
Well, it's scary when the fact that...
Well, you know, I asked him when he was on the Corsic show how many contracts have been bid since the Anna shelter took over, and he said they were almost bid every year. Now, you sat down there all these years.
Yeah.
When the shelter came up for renewal of the contract, there was no bids. It was handed right over, except this last time.
Well, they did one bid a few years ago, but nobody bid, you know.
No.
This year, they had a bidder. And, you know, everybody's saying, well, it's an unfair bid because everybody knows what she's been, you know, what we've been paying her. But you know what? That's the way with any bid. You want to know how much we're paying McCormick?
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. McCormick, how much does it cost McCormick to do the blacktop and compare to the city?
Well, you can look over every contract, okay?
So how much would you say, the difference?
It varies on the contract. Varies from contract to contract.
Let's say it.
Well, it depends on the scope. There is no easy number to throw at you, okay? It depends on the scope of the project, and it depends...
How big and how long?
But what it does is, you know, if you want to know how much they're bidding, let's say, per mile or whatever, You can look up the bids, it's public record. People wanted, the same people that are yelling at us for, accusing us of saying it was an unfair bid, are the same people that want openness in government. Okay, you can't have both ways. In other words, if you want to know, how much we're charging and how much we're paying, go upstairs, you can file a request, or I can find out by looking looking at contracts. And if you got a specific question, so it's not a secret.
No, all you got to do is FIOA it.
Yeah, and it's not a big secret. I mean, anybody can find out.
You might have to pay for some of the copies, but...
Or you can, if you want, you can go up there. You don't have to, if you just want to look at them, you can look at them and make your own notes, okay?
Fine anyways.
But I mean, businesses do that. They don't,
That's how they come around to their bidding.
Right, McCormick knows how much...
Well, you got McCormick, you got Mayer Brothers,
yeah, they know.
got,
and Russell Standard.
You got Keys, and...
They all know what each other's doing. They pretty much are... When I looked at the bids, when they used to bid, they were pretty close.
Stay within each other's range.
Yeah, and sometimes they didn't want the job that bad. They didn't, if they needed... Sometimes they cut a little bit because they needed to work.
But they all put a stipulation in, if they run into more money on the end, you have to pay that up.
Well, if it's a legitimate problem,
Sure.
And sometimes, John, it's like when you tear down a building, you can't always say, everything is going to be there, or, you're paving the road and all of a sudden you find out, like when they did my mother's street, there's a problem underneath it,
So, did you get any advice from your solicitors about the damage that, seeing that all these contractors are painting their manhole covers and everything was fluorescent?
No, they've been
responsible.
They've been quiet about it, but I'm a little concerned, and I'm going to ask them because at the next meeting, because I think, before that, I'm going to send a letter up there, because if I heard right, there's a couple citizens that got banged up a little bit.
Yes.
And, I don't understand why we have this delay from the time it's milled. It's been like an abnormal delay.
Yeah, there's something strange going on. But I was real pleased with the way you handled your last meeting down there, when you put it right on the ball for city council not effectively handing out penalties instead of just dancing around the totem pole.
Well, yeah, that's all we get. I'm watching Edinburgh, and Edinburgh's they're going nuts down there.
Well, yeah, anybody, they're landlords. They have to meet all the specifications and everything else, and you got to find out where the kids are, if they have a driver's license and everything else. And here's this fourth class city. We're not going anywhere. Yeah,
and they said, they're in court down there, and I find out, that's not really the case.
Right.
So I mean, we got to quit being nice. Look what's happening. You drive around town, and inactivity over the years has cost us
a lot of money.
Now we're situations where we have, like that gentleman brought up, got trees dying. We don't have the money to take care of them, because they weren't taken care of initially. We got property, houses that are falling apart.
Now, the housing authority, how many homes do they have?
God knows.
That'd be a good question to find out. Because, they're not paying taxes, but they're in lieu of taxes, they give you a police car. But how many, that's a good thing for you to find out. How many homes are in the housing authority?
Hang on, are you done, John?
Yes, the housing authority is doing a good job.
Okay. Actually, he gives us, he funds a couple, there's a unit called the Quebec unit, he funds that.
Doing a good job. In fact, there's hardly any crime in his areas.
Well, in fair, he doesn't put up with, from what I hear, he doesn't put up with any, he bounces you out of there. Now, the problem is, what happens to the people he bounces,
Yeah, I'll talk to you later. Let somebody else get in.
Yeah, that's the problem. But he does fund the Quebec unit, which is, I forget how many police officers that, they help out inside there. Mm-hmm. He pays for that. But they also go off-site, too. But the first thing is, inside the housing authority property. Well, and he does give us money. I should have brought my budget here because he's been very good to us on that aspect.
Why don't these state legislators try and change the law so they can tax some of these people, like Gannon and Mercer? Why don't these guys get off their butt? They're making $85,000.
I talked to a blue in the face with these guys, and I tell the public, I said, when you see your legislator, bug them. Because I bug them, and it's like, okay, I'm a councilman, that's fine, but, the average, everybody has to bug their, and say, this is not fair. Because when you look, I don't know how we're going to tax them. I said, maybe, if you don't want to call it a tax, call it a public safety fee. Whatever you have to do.
We get, no.
Something, yeah. Go ahead, caller.
Hello, Kev.
Yes.
Hey, Lloyd.
Lloyd, I haven't seen you since Zababa.
I know.
I see you got a little action down there a couple days ago, huh?
You mean 21st and Ash?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. You know where it's coming from? The grocery store.
You mean Seraphin's?
No. 21st and Ash, by the funeral home.
Oh, that one, yeah. Okay. Yeah, because Seraphin's is a pretty nice store.
Oh, yeah. He don't put up with anything either.
No, he doesn't.
You have a wall of shame. You know what that is?
Is that where you get banned from the store?
Yes, and your picture, too.
Oh, man. You got to like that guy, huh?
Oh, yes. Hey, this Randy Barnes, where does he really live?
Harbor Creek.
Why does he always come and pick on Jim Clem?
Well, he does have property in the city, I believe. And so anybody can, if you're a taxpayer technically, you can address city council.
Yeah, but he ran on about Jim Clem. Jim did, that's a hard job to do.
Yeah, but I think in Randy's case, he felt like we shouldn't have done it, that there were...
that for 1 year or 3 years?
2 years.
2 years.
That there were other pressing needs, and that, he has a right to his opinion. I mean, nobody has to agree with him, but...
You're right, done. This budget ain't going to help anybody.
But, it's... I think when you think about it, it's money that he felt could be better spent somewhere else.
When the city did our street between Reed and Wayne, they did a real better job than Mayor Brothers ever did.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot of people are much more pleased with our guys, And see, here's the thing. Everybody says, why don't we do it? Well, we don't have the equipment.
Well, they sold the equipment, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, but that was a decision that, we had an asphalt plant when I was a kid, too.
Right.
They got rid of that one. If we were to do it, we'd have to, obviously buy more equipment, put more men on there. They felt, previous mayors and this mayor and administrations and councils felt like they didn't want to go that direction. So, people ask, well, why do you get Mayor Brothers to do it? We don't have the equipment, quite frankly, to do all the streets, but the ones our guys do, have done, I've had nothing but, good compliments on.
And I'll tell you what, when they did the one on between Reed and Wayne, the manhole covers they put a plastic ring around it.
Yeah, see, I think our guys are much more conscientious. And this bugs a lot of councilmen because we keep hearing the same complaints about, the rings aren't being put in right, by the contractors, and why? The state don't put them in right when they do their streets. Because we don't, not every street is done by the city in the city. Some of them are state highways, but it seems to be an overriding problem that they're not putting in these rings properly.
But when you did from 14 to 18 on state, I'll tell you what, you don't see no bumps in the manhole covers. No,
our guys, I think, for some reason, are much more conscientious. Maybe it's because, we're on top of them, and, they got pride in their job, so.
They say when you go down the road like me, I get my car, and I only got 3 or 4 inches.
Yeah.
The height of the tire, and you hit one of those, you ought to forget about it. There's $350 tires.
There was a case on 12th and French when the state did that one, and they really made a mess out of that turn when you head south. You're heading east on 12th Street, then you make a turn heading south on French. That was a big dip in there, and But when I pointed out to the engineer, he got the state to fix it then.
Yeah, handicap curb had all the water on it, remember?
Yeah, Lloyd, I'm hearing, for all the good they do, they also cause some drainage problems too. And we just can't seem to work out the issues that when they put the ramps in, if they don't put them in right, then it backs up water down the other way. And I don't know what the solution is, you know?
Nobody don't.
No, I mean, you hear people say all the time, things are good, and then when they put the ramps in, not everywhere, but in certain areas, when they put the ramps in, then all of a sudden the water backs up.
Another thing, Cap. When Mill Creek supervisors, if a tavern want to go in, they have to have a hearing. Why don't we have that?
What do you mean, when they do what?
A tavern want to go in Mill Creek. They have a hearing.
We do have hearings, but they're done with by the time it gets to council, it's already gone through the zoning board or I'm trying to think of the other board that we have there. We have a couple boards that meet, and they go over. In fact, they're open to the public, Lloyd. You can come down and listen. Like when they grant things, and then by the time it comes to council, it's almost a done issue. Yeah, we're advised of their findings. Well, we have a representative there, okay, but there, we have a board that, because cities have board. I don't know if townships do. But in the city, we have like a zoning board, okay? We all get appointments and stuff.
Yeah.
So that zoning board meets, they report to council. If you ever seen them, they'll come up here and they will talk, they'll have if they're having a rezoning issue, they'll come in, they'll ask for pros and cons. Then the zoning board will give their opinion, and then council will decide whether they want to vote it up or down. We don't, have to take their, but we rely on their pre-screening and their opinion, And there's one other board, probably slipped my tongue at the minute, but yeah, we have boards set up for that. That's why you probably don't see that, Lloyd.
Oh, okay. Now, another thing, that old Jimmy Barn, 26th Street.
I mean the up and away.
Yeah, it used to be Franke's Barn, then Jimmy's, and this. Is that thing ever going to be open?
Well, I was approached by the neighbors about, I didn't make this public because a lot of the neighbors wanted it, they didn't want too much attention drawn, but they had been complaining to me about this for a while.
Over 2 years.
Yeah, so I've been working with the certain police officers on the issue, and they were telling me about the progress, and I did work with, want to thank Councilman Harkins, not Councilman Harkins, Representative Harkins. I brought it to his attention, and he actually got the state to intensify their pressure. So between the police and the state, they started cranking, but you hate to say it was a good thing, and nothing's good about what happened, but when that final problem happened, that was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back when a gentleman got killed. And the DA now has said that he got the judge to order closed, because what was going to happen was the neighbors got really upset. After the police closed it and did their investigation, the bar was allowed to reopen.
They did reopen.
You know it, Lloyd?
No.
Yeah, it was allowed to reopen for about a day, and they called me, and I checked into it, and they said, well, they're allowed to open pending the hearing, which was not going to be for
a couple of weeks after that.
Right, so what happened was the DA now, he had enough, so the DA approached one of our judges, I think Cunningham.
Right.
And Judge Cunningham ordered it closed until the hearing. So what's going to happen, Lloyd? It's going to depend on the hearing that the state conducts. And, in the meantime, I keep working with Representative Harkins on the issue.
But there's 2 or 3 owners of that place. No one seems to know the owner of that.
Well, once it's closed, the license is going to be.
They don't know who to find.
Yeah.
There's 3 or 4 owners, so who are you going to find?
But is that what you wanted to hear, Lloyd?
Yeah, but they took the signs down and everything now.
Oh, it's done.
You mean what signs?
The name of the bar and everything is all gone.
Yeah, he's probably figuring I don't know if he had the hearing, but it doesn't look like they're going to allow him to reopen. But
No, what it was, if he did reopen, they would have to issue him a new liquor license. Counted the judge closed it, they didn't have to renew the license.
yeah, but I thought they still had the hearing coming up at the end of the month or something. So I'll kind of, I can check into it for you, see what happened with that, but I was glad when they talked to the DA. I said, I'm glad you did what you did, because, it was a long process. The police were doing their work. They were doing their undercover work. The state, they were intensifying their effort, because it's not easy in this Commonwealth to take a business from someone. It sometimes, like in the case of that one on East Avenue and the other one on Buffalo Road, it sometimes takes 2-3 years.
The DA should have the power to do something like that.
But this state is weird in that aspect that...
You know what I thought? A tavern going to be by a school.
Who is that?
What is one?
Oh, yeah, you're right. But I asked, Lloyd, it's funny you bring that up. I asked, and nobody seems to know the right answer, so I'm going to have to call the Commonwealth and ask them. Everybody seems to think they measure that from the front door of the bar. Okay?
Yeah.
In the case of Wilson, that's bad news. Okay?
That bullet could have went through the skull.
Yes. Here's what I say. The way I thought the law read was you draw the property, and then you extend, 600 feet or whatever the rule says?
Yeah.
You draw a perimeter around there, but that's not how it works. They said how it works is you go from the front door, at least this is what I was told, and I want to check if this is true, because if that's the case, then, like with Wilson, you got a problem, because they're on the backside of Wilson, okay? You follow me, Lloyd?
Yes, I do.
So he's probably okay, because you remember we had...
The school or the property?
Well, they go by the front door of the school.
Of the school.
See, because here was a problem with... do you remember Wayne?
Yeah.
Okay, Wayne School was close to that... when I wasn't on the board quite yet, but there was a building that was being used as a glorified massage parlor.
Oh, yes. When you go around the turn.
Right. Now, that one, I'm trying to think if they had problems with that, too, because it might have been like 605 feet or something.
It had to be 600 feet away from the skull.
Yeah, and I think it wasn't. I mean, it was over 600 feet. But if you went from the property line, it wouldn't have been. I can remember Mill Creek when a certain restaurant came in. They were measuring from Tracy, trying to see if they could stop this business. And
oh, Hooters.
yeah, and yeah, they got all upset thinking it was they misinterpreted what their business was, and I think they went. So I don't know how the 600-foot rule works. But from what I've been told, I think it's from the front door. And if that's the case, that rule needs to be changed, because you're right, Lloyd. You got kids in the back in a soccer field, and bullets don't know, bullets can fly anywhere. And that school is right across the street.
Yeah, I'll get off so somebody else to call.
But yeah, I'm continuing on that problem with that old tavern, because the neighbors, a couple of them showed me bullet holes in the side of their house. That's not pleasant.
When you're sitting there watching TV.
To his house.
Pardon?
The guy who had the beer bottles in his house.
Yeah. That's again, that used to be a nice bar too. It's just, the world has changed.
25 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, just think about where you live. A couple weeks ago we were drinking Polish beer, eating pierogies. Everything was okay, right?
Yes. Then last week.
It's a changing world.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks, Lloyd.
All right, bye.
Yeah,
Okay, got a question for you.
But not yet. Wait, just hang tight. The bar, though, that was... Go ahead, caller.
I got a couple things to ask you. The firehouse in East Lake Road, is that open or closed?
The one on East Lake Road?
Yeah.
By Franklin Terrace.
Ooh, it's not being used, I think, right? It isn't being used, I don't think.
I don't know.
They use it for store. I went by there the other day, and there was a fire truck in it, and the door was open.
Oh, you know what I'll ask the chief. Some of our old houses, they actually store trucks in there, the emergency backups.
Yeah.
But they're not manned. I'll ask him about that one. That's on East Lake Road, right?
Right. Another thing. How long has the Erie Police Department been without a canine dog?
Oh, boy. I tell you, the last one I'm thinking was... The last one I remember, and I'm not positive on this, but I was still... I think my first term as controller, so that was like 8-9 years ago.
The next question is, why so long?
I I don't think they plan on getting any, from what I understand, it's,
Don't give me this cost.
no, I don't think they have an interest in doing it.
That's with the crime rates in the city and the foot chases these police officers have to do.
Yeah.
They need 1 or 2 dogs.
Well, I think in the past they cut them, and I'm not using it, I wasn't there, but I think they cut them because they felt the cost of training them and everything, they decided it wasn't worth the effort, and I don't, I remember funding dogs as controller my first term at least, because we were still buying dog food and doing the veterinary work.
Yeah.
Now, there might have been one that stayed later than that, but as a unit, they haven't been really big for a long time. But I'll check on that for you. What the reason is? I'm liaison now, and I'll ask the chief. He might tell me it's cost, but I don't know if they just made it's like, if you remember the bicycles, we don't use them all the time anymore either. We use them on certain occasions, but we don't have any dogs, I know. In fact, one time we even had an arson dog, and we don't have that anymore.
Right.
And I think the drug sniffing dog is out of Mercyhurst.
That's just amazing. We don't have a dog.
Yeah, I always thought they were, I mean, yeah, there's a cost on them, but when you think about it, it's just like, it's like having another policeman on a shift.
Well, a dog can actually replace 2 or 3 policemen.
And people, I mean, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be standing too firm in my shoes if one was coming after me.
When it comes to crowd control and foot chases, the dog would be much more effective.
I remember him in the basement, and I had to be either like my first term or part of my beginning of my second term as controller. But I remember they used to train him downstairs, and every once in a while, they wouldn't tell us, and they'd say, somebody come down the elevator and they yell, freeze, and you sit there and you go, uh-oh, But yeah, I would like to see him come back, and I think, they're a tool where one man in a car with a dog, I mean, yeah, it does have an effect on you.
Yes. Another thing, the noise ordinance with these loud cars, how many citations have they ever really given out on that?
I doubt they've given, I can find out, I'll ask them, but just like the curfew,
yeah,
we were amazed that the curfew,
exactly.
They haven't issued maybe 1 or 2 a year.
Yeah.
And I doubt if and I'm not saying that, with all the stuff they got to worry about,
yeah,
but I'm wondering if, like in the daytime, maybe when it's a little lighter, issuing a couple of those, maybe if they had time,
Not only that, they stop these cars. What are they going to find in them?
That's a good question. Probably.
That's drugs, guns.
And I'm not being a police officer. I don't know if that's probable cause, but if it is, it's a good tool to, like they've told us, this curfew will help them as a tool.
Yeah.
To be able to stop, in a certain situation. They don't have the manpower to check every kid.
Right.
But like you say, I don't know if the noise ordinance is one of those things where if you stop them for that, you can, make a walk around the car and then,
Yeah. There's a car that comes up and down my street probably 2 or 3 times a day, and it rattles my windows.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's not only that. Sometimes, like those of us who live up by the colleges, we used to get a lot of that music, too.
Oh, yes.
And it just gets...
yeah.
I mean, why do you get I don't know how you can be... You're almost deaf when you're in that car.
Yeah.
And, I used to love loud music, but not that loud,
No.
I loved my doors, but not to where my eardrums were done.
That's right. Well, the audiologists will be getting good business in a few years. Hearing aids.
Well, for those of us who served in artillery in the Army, that didn't help you either too much.
That's right.
Your eardrums are a little bit rattled, but I will check and ask them how many noise ordinances. I'd be surprised if it was many.
Exactly.
But I'm going to ask about the dogs because, a lot of people have said over the years they like the dogs and the bicycles. But obviously we're not real heavy on manpower anymore, so.
Yeah.
But maybe that's one of the things when we talk about maybe going after the nonprofits, I'd like to see a public safety fee where we would be forced to hire like a couple more police officers.
There you go.
Where we could bring some of this stuff back, like, hey, they want to do us a favor, that's what they could do, buy us Gannon and Mercier Snim could buy us some dogs.
There you go, especially Mercier. Oh, yeah, Mercier's with the parties they have. Take a dog up there. That'll break up.
Well, I think they have a dog up there that they have, for their use.
Yeah.
And they're not cheap, because, dogs have to be trained, and, the officer gets a stipend to take care of them, but they're worth their weight in gold, really.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for calling.
Okay, I got a question. A lot of people ask me, Kaz, are you going to run for mayor? And who's running for mayor that you think of?
I'm not supposed to really say that on TV because this has to be a non-political show.
Well, I'm asking you, are you going to run?
I have considered it,
Okay.
but it's all I'll
Few
say.
people wanted to know, and they said, bring it up. This way I can hear what he has
But
to
you
say.
didn't hear it on the show because we're not supposed to talk about it.
Okay.
You had any last-minute ventures?
No. There's a couple of things you have to find out for next week. You forgot.
Well, I got a whole list here, but I'd like the guy's idea about, it's, dogs, they kind of slipped out of and even our bicycle patrols. When we were in Allentown, we were amazed that Bobby Mursky and I, we were walking around one night, and they had volunteers with radios and vests, brightly colored. They had no police powers, but they sat there at key intersections downtown where the tourists were. Like if there's a ball game going on or a theater, and their job was to, help people ambassador-wise, But not only that, but, call a cab for you or something like that, but also they were watching the area. They were tied in with the police. And the police had the bike patrols out, which we used to have, on a regular basis.
We used to have all kinds of stuff. How much money's in the budget?
Now, York even has a horse. Not York. Not York.
Allentown.
No, Lancaster had a horse. And, you laugh at it, but, the horse was just very, it got the attention of people, especially the kids. They would tell this guy, there's something going on in that side of town. And how much is what?
I just asked.
How much money's where?
In our budget.
For?
In our general budget. About 700,000.
You want the up-to-date figure?
Yeah.
I'll get it for you. Call me and tell me to bring it in next week, and I'll have you the September
I can't
report.
get a hold of you. Your phone's always full.
Call me on my other one.
On the other one.
Okay?
We lost our skunk this week.
Yes, we did. But you know what? We got what a plethora of stuff to check on.
You'll be busy for a couple of days.
Yeah, but you want to go along the ride? We're going to do a little ride through.
When's that?
Well, we're going to, DJ's calling me tonight,
Okay.
and we're going to set up a time, then we'll see if John and you want to come.
Not tomorrow, because
No, probably not tomorrow,
something
but
leak on tomorrow.
we'll see if we do a ride around. And
That'd be nice.
I did one day. I put 20 some miles on a car, and I said, I was checking my notes, and I'm going, well, let's see, yep, there it is, there's this street, there's that street.
But we should get that street to see if they can cut those trees down. Those trees ain't that big.
I'll talk to Sarah again. I know last time I brought up trees there, she doesn't have a lot of funds anymore, to do it.
But the city,
But I'll ask her.
we have workers that could do this.
I'll ask Bruce Doherty, Parks. I don't know if there's a reason why he doesn't, Obviously, I don't know if he's got I think he does.
He has the equipment. And he's got people working.
I know if the trees are up in the big time, they're not going to mess with that. You get tree
No.
cutters.
Right. But a lot of them are small. You can cut them right there and haul it away.
And a lot of the tree cutters, they use the wood chips, but we'll check. She's the one that has to, her job ain't easy because there's a lot of dead trees around the city.
Oh. A lot of houses are vacant too.
Yeah, and that's a problem. And the law's got to change to where we can take quicker action. But a lot of our problems stem in Harrisburg where we can't do as a third
We
class.
go back to the state legislators.
Well, what we would like to see is have the third class cities. You're not going to get as much power like second class and the first class does, but give us a little bit more power and a little more. Let us tax things that we're not allowed to tax.
Non-profit.
Well, no, that's it, but even on a little basis, like being able to institute, we don't get a hotel tax. We can't do that.
That's how much money is in $3 or $4 million in that hotel tax?
But there you go. Second class city like Pittsburgh can charge, and a first class city like Philly can charge. Oh well. Well,
Okay.
Hey, see you again next week?
Next week.
Same bat channel?
All right, have a nice week, people out there, and if you have any problems, call up. Don't hesitate.
See ya.
I gotta call this was. That's maybe that,
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching the Taxpayers Hotline Show on Erie Zone Government Access, Channel 9.